The Boondocks is one of my favorite shows of all time. The writing is some of the sharpest in any series, and one of the best aspects in the show is the social commentary. The show always did a phenomenal job of parodying real life people and situations, and it would also always contribute a level of nuance that would provide the audience a new perspective or a different way of thinking about any given situation. Now, that isn't always the case, but I think that is the intention more times than not. So I think it'll be fun to sort of dive into real world situations and people that the series parodied. Keep in mind, this list will not be exhaustive by any means. The show is chock full of so many references and parodies that I'd be here literally all day. Maybe I'll return to this topic in the future, but for today I have 5 different examples. If I missed any that you maybe want me to revisit or you just want to discuss, go ahead and pop that in the comments.
So I told him to take his seat, and here comes this barrage of insults. I mean, some of the words I've never even heard before, and I was just stunned. And I said, well, sit down, nigga. I just repeated the insult back to him because that's what I've been trained to do.
That is not what he's been trained to do.
The N-word is one of the most controversial words in the English language. And with it not only being controversial, but also one of the most fun words to say, many non-black people end up at an impasse.
African-American rappers saying N-word this and N-word that, but a Caucasian can't.
So say it.
Say what?
Say the word you want to say.
I'm not saying that I want to say it, I'm just saying that I can't.
Sure you can. Say it. Say it right now. I will say it with you.
Now, I'm not here to provide some greater social commentary on the semantics of hard R in comparison to ending with an A, but what I will say is that I don't find it debatable that a white teacher calling a black student in any variation of the word is inappropriate, despite how often it happens, especially in the modern day. Well, in 2007, news broke of one of the most hilariously infamous instances of this happening ever to grace the internet. WHAS 11 News, a channel reporting locally in Louisville, Kentucky, released a story debating whether intent is relevant when non-black people use the word nigga. A white English teacher named Paul Dawson told one of his black students named Keyshawn Chambers to sit down, but instead of leaving it at sit down, he decided to add the additional descriptor for additional emphasis.
And what did he say specifically to you?
Sit down, nigga.
In his defense, he claimed that he used the word N-I-G-G-A instead of ending in E-R, claiming that he had no ill intent and simply differentiates the two, with the latter being a slur and the former being a term of endearment.
Get away from the door, nigga. Yes, I use nigga. I've used it. I admit it. I put the H on it to emphasize it's nigga. That, you know, nigga this, nigga please, nigga, can you lend a nigga a pencil?
To be fair, among the black community, this distinction is true, but in most cases, regardless of which version you use, especially if you're white, common knowledge would tell you that that's probably not going to go well. This story is legitimately so funny to me that I thought it was a skit, but as far as I could find, this is a legitimate news story. As a result of these comments, Dawson was suspended for 10 days without pay and had to attend diversity training. Not only that, but he also swore off using the word going forward, followed by him literally saying it again in the same breath.
I will never say any form of nigga. I'm cured of that.
Because this case is so funny to me and he seemed to be coming from a place of genuine misunderstanding, I don't really hate this man for what he did.
I just don't understand it. And I'm trying to understand it. I need help.
This is also strangely very common with English teachers, at least in my experience. I went to public school in a suburb of Atlanta, and many of our required readings included the word. And many of my English teachers used Huckleberry Finn as a justification to drop the hard R over 200 times in a 7th grade classroom. In Season 2, Episode 11, The S Word, the Boondocks directly parodies this story, replacing Keyshawn with Riley.
He said, sit down, nigga.
And when I say parody, I mean it's copied almost exactly, frame by frame, shot for shot. The beauty of this example and the others that I'm going to get into throughout this video, and the beauty of the show entirely, is how the writers can manage to take such a small concept or premise and expand it into a 22-minute episode. In this episode, Riley and Granddad attempt to seek compensation for this racial injustice, and they end up being led astray by Rollo Goodlove, who's also trying to cash in on this racket. All their attempts end up failing, and despite this, they continue escalating the conflict before ending up walking away with nothing.
This deal includes damages to the Freemans, plus a very generous donation to the Reverend Rollo Goodlove Jambalaya of Justice League. Have mercy.
Hey, come here. Look at this. This nigga must be crazy.
Okay then. So I'll just wait for your response then.
This episode is great, and it gave us literally the only likable iteration of Ann Coulter to ever exist.
These crab cakes are good as a mug. I fucks with these crab cakes. I'm tearing these bad boys up.
And for those of you who have never seen this episode, I bet you're wondering why it's titled the S word if it's centered around the N word. Well, I'll let the school district superintendent explain it for me.
District's policy is that teachers should always say N-word instead of the actual N-word, or S-word instead of saying the actual S-word.
What is the S word?
Well, I don't want to say it, but...
Spick?
No. Spear chucker.
Spear chucker?
Yes, see, we would encourage our teachers to say S-word instead of spear chucker.
Ooga booga doo, ooga booga doo.
Why did you do bad things?
'Cause it's fun. It's fun to do bad things.
Children tend to reflect their surrounding environment. Bad environments more often than not produce bad kids, and bad kids oftentimes end up in bad situations. One of the most viral instances of publicly unhinged behavior came from Latarian Milton in 2008. At just 7 years old, Latarian stole his grandmother's car, picked up his friend who is assumed to be around his age, yet is noted that he smokes cigarettes. They took the car for a joyride and in the process hit 2 parked cars, 2 moving cars, and ran over 2 mailboxes. The car ended up totaled after he struck a curb and a sign. Unfortunately for Latarian, this is not where his legal troubles end. In 2017, at 16 years old, Milton and some of his friends robbed and carjacked a Lyft driver at gunpoint. Milton was the getaway driver and confessed to all of it to the police prior to his arrest. He became the 11th juvenile in his county to be charged as an adult. He was actually sentenced to 15 years in prison, and from what I could find, he's still there now. So, not a very happy ending to his real life story.
It's fun to do bad things. To drive into a car.
Well, did you know that you could perhaps kill somebody?
Yes, but I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friend.
In the Boondocks episode, they made him a very villainous YN, as the young people say, and combined his first and last name into LaMilton. LaMilton steals his grandmother's car like in real life, and Riley is the friend that ends up coming along for the joyride and smoking cigarettes. They parody the iconic news report once again down to a T. They even parodied an alleged incident of Latarian assaulting his grandmother in real life over some chicken. Throughout the episode, Riley and LaMilton get into a bunch of debauchery, and we eventually learn that LaMilton is legitimately evil.
Hey, Riley, check this out. Yo, man, watch where you point that thing.
My grandmother has it in case of burglars. She told me never to touch it, so I'm touching it.
Man, you need to be careful with that.
Now we can do anything we want. We can take whatever we want, and we can hurt whoever we want. Let's go.
Yo, you tripping. I'm going home.
I said let's go.
Riley is a menace to society, but he pales in comparison to LaMilton, who enjoys harming others and just overall being a douchebag. Eventually, as Riley becomes more reluctant to participate in heinous activities, they end up in a scuffle that leads to LaMilton's death. Just kidding, but this bald white guy that's been trying to catch him the entirety of the episode definitely tried his best to finish the job.
He's gone.
Oh, wait, he's right there.
He's still alive? No! Yeah. You're the spawn of Satan. I must destroy you.
Somebody call my grandmother.
Another great episode, and considering how Latarian ended up in real life, the Boondocks strikes again with being ahead of time. Hopefully Latarian can get his life on track once he gets out.
Hold on, I just got out of the shower. There's some juice on the table.
Take your time.
You want to explain to me what you're doing here?
I came looking for booty.
You came looking for sex with an underage boy?
Oh, no, I ain't come looking for no little boys. I ain't got no milk, no cookies, nothing. I came looking for man's butt.
A man's butt? Excuse me?
Oh, I know who you are, Chris Hansen. But see, I calls you Chris Handsome. I watch your TV show all the time. So you can go ahead and bring them cameras and them police is waiting outside. It don't make me no difference. Now, I tell you what, I like you and I want you. Now, we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours.
Well, I don't think you and I will be doing anything any kind of way.
Okay, I see you choosing the hard way.
Okay, cut. This isn't working. Someone get this guy out.
Don't make me ruin that bike, no, Chris. I'm a warrior.
It is pretty stereotypical to believe many inmates in prison facing incredibly long sentences turn into pirates, so to speak. Always hunting for booty and praying someone drops the soap.
Balloons! Don't drop them.
However, Fleece Johnson took that stereotype to another level, discussing taking booty fairly publicly.
When I see one, and he looks good to me, when I go see him, I say, you come here. I say, I'm telling you what, I like you, and I want you. And we can do it the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours, right?
Most people know about the Booty Warrior. However, somehow the real world counterpart is even more depraved than the one that we see in episode 9 of season 3, A Date with the Booty Warrior. Now, when I say depraved, I mean Fleece Johnson was up to some supervillain level acts. If you're interested in getting the full scope of just how insane this man's life has been, I recommend you check out this YouTube documentary that's linked in the description. But to give you the cliff notes, I'm going to just rattle off some of the things that Fleece Johnson has done. For context, from the start of his adolescence, Johnson became a menace to society in his state of Kentucky. By the time he was 15, he was locked away in the penitentiary despite it being fully illegal to try minors as adults. He was charged with 16 robberies, 8 shootings, and Grand Theft Auto. He spent 44 years in prison, including 12 in the hole. He was housed in Eddyville, which was considered the worst prison in the country at the time. While incarcerated, he's been accused of stabbing multiple inmates, sexually assaulting several inmates, bit at least 36 inmates to the point where the prison had to remove his teeth and it became illegal for him to have any kind of tooth substitute like dentures or veneers. Killed a police dog, was forced to spend 18 months in a cell built specifically for him, naked. He started the quote-unquote Dookie War in the prison that ran for 6 years. This was when prisoners were assaulting guards and other inmates with full buckets of a combination of aftershave and feces. And he ended up getting himself shot by the warden in the jail. There's so much more that this menace actually did, so seriously consider watching the documentary. But eventually he participated in a documentary where he said what he's most known for. This is the example that was picked up by the writers of the Boondocks, and as a result, internet history was made. Fleece is now a free man, and he has actually been on a podcast tour since he's gotten out. They used Fleece in the Boondocks episode that was essentially social commentary on this sexual assault epidemic that has been pervasive in American prisons. Tom and the boys go into the prison for the Scared Straight program, and unfortunately, Tom has a fear of being
anally raped.
This puts him directly at odds with the Booty Warrior himself. Things really go off the rails, and Tom ends up getting hunted by Fleece.
I mean, it was his idea. Thought y'all had some kind of escape plan worked out or something. Well, no escape plan. A booty is more important than escaping. So I said to myself, when I seen that shank, this is an opportunity for me to get some booty.
That was it? Nigga, I thought you had demands.
Oh, I had demands. I had demands to get some booty.
I thought this was supposed to be some Attica type.
Now, how y'all think that make me feel? Y'all let the booty get away. Now I got to go hunt down the booty. Damn. Time.
This episode is one of the craziest in the series, so it's a must-watch. I won't spoil anything else, but the biggest takeaway from all of this is that this man is one of the most diabolical people to walk the earth. He's also married to a woman now, for whatever that's worth.
I sat down to write my first play. I asked Jesus, will you co-write with me? And he said yes. And I told Jesus, I want to write plays for women. What do women want to see? And Jesus said, sexy men. Since that day, I've searched the world for the sexiest black men alive. And I found them, my shirtless men. And Jesus was pleased.
Okay, so this one is not as grounded in reality as the other ones. It's more so grounded in speculation. Season 3, episode 8 is one of the more controversial episodes of the already controversial show, and it essentially got banned from reruns for an extended period of time. This episode is Pause, and essentially it's one big mockery of the director and writer Tyler Perry. Anyone that's watched his work can probably attest to how formulaic his films and shows can be, and this episode hits all of the proverbial nails on the head. In the episode, they don't directly name drop Tyler Perry, but it hits essentially all of the marks in everything but name. His stand-in is a man named Winston Jerome. They tear apart Perry's most iconic character, Medea, who is played by him cross-dressing. Winston Jerome does the same exact thing as Ma Dukes.
You better tell me who the hell up in my house before I get the captain. I ain't lying.
Hey, Medea. Medea, I know you hear me.
Medea! But you got a piece of steel, you gonna have peace. Load your steel. Thank you, Jesus.
They also reference the concept that is in a lot of Tyler Perry movies of the light-skinned savior and the dark-skinned abuser.
Typical Winston Jerome story starts with a beautiful, educated, professional black woman trapped in a troubled marriage with a brown-skinned bald dude from Law & Order.
How can you do this to me? Get out. I'm gonna marry this white hussy because you are too virtuous and strong and might make me a better man.
What's she doing here?
Get out.
Then, a dude who looks like Shamar Moore shows up as the shirtless, light-skinned gardener who just got out of jail.
Excuse me, may I rake your leaves? Shamar Moore.
At first, she acts like she doesn't like the light-skinned gardener, but eventually she gets to know him and sees the sensitive side.
Now, I know that to you, I'm just a poor, light-skinned gardener who can't even afford a shirt. But I love me some Jesus, and I love me some you.
Oh, Lord, thank you, Jesus. I never thought I'd ever be with a man so loving and light-skinned.
And I will always be light-skinned just for you.
Being a good Christian woman, she gives her marriage one last chance because Jesus said so.
I am dark-skinned and bald, so I hate you, and I hate Jesus.
And just when the brown-skinned dude from Law & Order is about to hit her, here comes the shirtless gardener.
Hold it right there, bald-headed dude from Law & Order.
The woman and the gardener kiss, having found true love through Jesus.
And the most controversial thing in this episode is making Jerome a not exactly closeted homosexual, something that has been speculated about Perry for quite some time now. Now, I'm not one to judge, so I won't dwell on that aspect too much, but I know that it's certainly something that's been floating around Perry's name for an exceedingly long amount of time, and it's definitely alluded to within this episode. This episode is another example of the writers turning these real-life equivalents into cartoonishly diabolical villains. It centers around Perry, aka Winston Jerome, and is also playing on the term pause or no homo, which I assume if you're under 45 years old that you know exactly what that means. It's about Granddad once again craving money and fame through being an actor, something that he's always wanted to do. He passes through his audition, but he ends up indoctrinated into Jerome's cult. He's subjected not only to grueling rehearsals, but Jerome is also constantly trying to get into his pants. Granddad eventually has to be Ma Dukes' love interest in the upcoming play, and he has to kiss Jerome in the finale. Robert obviously does not want to do this, but he believes that it will be worth it in terms of payoff. It turns out not to be worth it, but he's offered the same role in the film adaptation of the play, but Jerome has one final request, dropping the facade that had been going on throughout the episode.
That's right, Bob. And I only have one request. Look, man, all bullshit aside, can I please just have some ass?
Okay. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me you made up this whole cross-dressing Christian cult crap just so you can sleep with men?
Pretty much, yeah.
Fuck you. Now stick that up your ass. No homo.
The episode ends with Riley making fun of Granddad as usual. Now, this episode is an obvious parody of Tyler Perry, like I said earlier, but because they didn't explicitly use his name, that left at least some level of plausible deniability. However, Perry was so offended that this episode was actually banned due to the fact that he had high connections at Turner, the parent company of Adult Swim, who was airing the Boondocks at the time. And as history tells us about censorship when it comes to the Streisand effect, all this did was attract more attention to the episode. It was banned in 2010 and didn't air again until 10 years later in May of 2020. While I kind of get it, at the end of the day, if the accusations aren't true and you're not named, I think the best method is to simply ignore it as if it doesn't apply to you. But more often than not, pride will get in the way. This episode is bonkers, but as usual, it's a lot of fun.
Our talking points this evening. It seems like the hip-hop community is trading in their gold chains for gold showers. Hip-hop singer R. Kelly is on trial again this week for sharing some of his liquid bling with yet another underage girl. Some advice for Mr. Kelly. Next time, use a golden shower curtain and keep your golden showers to yourself.
And finally, let's close it with one of the most infamous real-life cases relating to R&B's most disgraced legend, Robert Kelly. There's a myriad of allegations directed at him, so for the scale of this video, I'm only going to discuss the one that is directly referenced in this episode. He's notorious for being interested in young girls, and in this instance, it's a case that occurred around 2002. The same day Kelly performed the opening ceremony for the Winter Olympics, the Chicago Sun-Times broke the news that Kelly allegedly urinated on a minor on video. He ended up posting $750,000 bail and denied that the video was him. While investigating, the Polk County Police raided his home without a warrant. In this raid, they found a camera wrapped in a towel inside of a duffel bag with explicit images of him having intercourse with the same allegedly underage girl seen in the video. However, because this evidence was illegally obtained, it wasn't able to be used during the trial. During the trial, the jury was not able to prove that the girl in the video was a minor at the time of recording, so he was found not guilty on all counts. In my personal opinion, this was a major miscarriage of justice, but he did eventually face time, so better late than never, despite the fact that they were absurdly late. This is the second episode of the show, and it centers around this case and is a direct commentary of the reception of the case at the time. As we know now, many people turned a blind eye to these disgusting allegations in addition to many others because Kelly made good music. In real life, while Kelly was on trial, he actually received a nomination for the Image Award by the NAACP, which is beyond backwards. In the episode, Tom is slated as the attorney trying to indict Kelly, and he becomes public enemy number one.
What about the victim?
Oh yes, the victim. At what point does personal responsibility become a factor in this equation?
I don't think that's...
I see piss coming, I move. She saw piss coming, she stayed.
Yeah, she did,
And why should I have to miss out on the next R. Kelly album just for that?
Man, you just got beat by an 8-year-old.
And if R. Kelly goes to jail, I'll piss on your cat.
Throughout the episode, the evidence is basically ignored to the point to where they're literally jamming to his music in court, even down to the judge. Kelly gets off as he did in real life, and despite the circumstances, Tom just has to move on and accept the reality that sometimes famous people get away with heinous things simply because of their status. A hilarious but kind of bittersweet episode. I believe in separating the art from the artist, but given the severity of the allegations, I haven't listened to a song from R. Kelly in years. I'm sure the inmates get free shows out of him all the time though, so pros and cons, I guess.
What the hell is wrong with you people? Every famous nigga that gets arrested is not Nelson Mandela? Yes, the government conspires to put a lot of innocent black men in jail on fallacious charges. But R. Kelly is not one of those men. We all know the nigga can sing. But what happened to standards? What happened to bare minimums? You a fan of R. Kelly? You want to help R. Kelly? Then get some counseling for R. Kelly. Introduce him to some older women. Hide his camcorder. But don't pretend like the man is a hero. And stop the damn dancing. Act like you got some goddamn sense, people. Damn. Don't playing around here. Boo! Hey, you with the afro. Give it a rest. Beat it. Put the music back on.
The Boondocks is a treasure trove of comedic social commentary and a perfect example of art imitating life. Like I said, I didn't cover every single reference within the show because it's littered with them. Looking into the real life inspirations for these episodes deepened my appreciation for them, and as a result, it deepened my appreciation for the show. Aaron Magruder and the other writers were truly in their bag when creating full-fledged episodes from these real-world people and events. I really enjoyed looking into them, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching my video on them. Thank you for watching, and remember, it may be beneficial to be the stone that the builder refused.